Hello, and thank you for your interest in SwiftFP Works professional tax software. I would like to take you on a brief tutorial of what SwiftFP Works has to offer you. Let's get right into it, huh? From the main website of swiftfp.com, you will, on the upper right-hand side, you will find a login link. We click on the login. On this page, we will have to put in our credentials, the account name, the password, the firm name, and then the verification code that you see here. Copy it down here and hit login. Once you do that, you will be brought to your dashboard. Your dashboard has a lot of information that is beneficial to running your business. Let's begin by looking at this part here. On the top left-hand side, you see the year that we're working on currently. Right next to that, you have a link that'll bring you to past years or prior years. Okay, you click on whichever prior year you want, hit log into prior sites, and it'll bring you to that site. On the right side, we have three tabs. Individual, which is where you're going to do your 1040s and all its schedules, and your business, which is where we're going to do your 1120s, 1120Ss, 1065s, 990s, and so on. And your setup tab, which is where you're going to be setting up the information of your business. Okay, not to mention the fact of adding your preparers and what privileges you're going to be able to give them with when you add them in there. But we'll go over that with more details at a later time. Let's go back to the individual so we can hit our dashboard. The dashboard has a lot of information that is very useful to running your business. On the left-hand side, we have a navigation form where we have the dashboard, the clients, we have the e-file information, the scheduler, your letters, reports, setting up the payments or the pricing, and then you have tools beneficial to you also. Going back to the dashboard, across the top, we have a list of all the returns that we have filed so far, or that we are in our system so far. The ready to be filed returns, checks to be printed, your appointments for the day, and the ready to pay. These are the returns that are ready to be invoiced. Then we have the message board, which is pertinent information of the tax season. Then we have the rejected return summary on the left side. And that quadrant shows whether the rejection is a federal, a state, or a bank issue. Okay. On the bottom quadrant, we have the daily return summary, which is a comparison of the tax returns of one day versus the previous week. Okay, the previous 2 weeks, excuse me. And then the e-file summary shows you how many returns have been queued, transmitted, accepted, or rejected. Now let's take a look at what a return, what the client button will look like. Your client tab here on the navigation side, again, loads of information. Here you're going to be able to do a return, manage your returns, your current clients, as you see here. This list of clients you can sort in different manners through the amended returns, how many have been amended, what your returns that have been paper filed, completed, incomplete, unpaid returns. So you can sort this in different manners. Let's take a look at what it looks like to enter a new return. Okay, so let's go to new return. On this screen, we're going to enter the Social Security number of the taxpayer twice. Okay, let's do a dummy return. And we enter it again just to make sure that we have an accurate return. And here we missed the number one. Add that real quick. And then we select what type of return we will be doing. It's a regular 1040 and hit save and continue. This will bring us to the main information, the personal information form of that client. If you notice, it is gray. Everything else is grayed out. This is the main form that we need to be filled out completely before we can continue. It brings us to the person's complete name, social security number we already entered and it's brought forward, the date of birth, occupation, whether they have a identity protection PIN. Then we have other statuses. You have the filing status, the address, email, phone number, additional phone numbers and emails, and what state they're residing in, the bank information, and whether you want the state information to be, the state refund to go into the same account. Once you have everything filled out, you will click save and it will continue to the next page. However, let's say you've missed one item here. When you hit save, you're going to get a red little question mark. And this is letting you know that you're missing information. Until we have no red question marks, we're not going to be able to continue on this return. Let's take a look at another return that is already started, just for comparison. Let's get out of here real quick. From our clients list, let's choose test a tax return. Okay, let's go into his tax return. So we're going to hit edit to come in. His information is already there. From this screen, there's a variety of things we can do. If you notice, this tax return actually has a state return attached. On the left-hand side, we're going to go down this side real quick, and we have the forms search. You can either enter the form number 48, 45, 62, okay, or I can come here and I can choose that form, or I can enter the form number. That was the form number, excuse me. A hint of what it is I'm looking for, child tax. And it'll give me a list of different forms and I can search for the form that I'm looking for. Or I have a list of all the forms here. All the forms for the 1040 series are right here. And I can just choose the form that I want. Okay. If I bounce back, if I bounce back to the right side of the form of this page, I have IRS search, where I can search for certain information if I'm doing this tax return and I cannot remember what the standard deduction is. And it'll bring me to the IRS website where I can search my item and come back to my tax return where I was at. Useful links is going to give me information pertaining to the screen that I'm actually looking at. For example, if I am looking at a W-2, the useful information changes to correlate with my W-2s. And this is information that I might need or, or have questions about. Okay. Under this, we have another little quadrant, which is the forms. This is a list of the forms that are being used for this particular tax return. And this starts being filled out as we're doing the tax returns. Now, coming back to the left side again, at the bottom, we have a federal tax summary, which shows us the total income, the adjustments, the deductions, and other things, showing us what the refund is at the end. If there is a refund, if it's owes, it's going to show you what they owe. Okay. Since we are already at the W-2 form, which is one of the main things that we're going to be looking at, let's see. We can enter a W-2 by hitting add the little plus sign here to add a new one. Or if you already have one on the list or you've been working on it, you have it here and you can click the little pencil to edit, or you can delete it by clicking the little delete, the little red dash here. Okay, so when I'm adding a new one, I'm going to click on it here and I'm going to fill out the information and then I'm going to hit save. In this case, I'm going to hit no because it's already there. Another popular form, I just want to go over another way that we enter information. Let's look at a Schedule C. This particular taxpayer is actually a truck driver, so he has a Schedule C. Let's take a look at that real quick. So we're going to hit the little pencil to go into the actual form. The top part of the information is we're answering all this information, like what the Schedule C looks like. But there's two different ways that I would like to show you of entering information. That's line number 1 and line number 9. They're very important differences between the two lines. Line number 1, other than it just being your gross sales, there are 2 ways we can enter information on that line. We can just enter the number, the amount there, whatever amount it is. So $42,000 is the gross sales for this company, other than the 1099s. So then I can just enter the 42,000 here, or you see the little tablet here. I can click on the little tablet and enter the information separately. For example, if you have a grocery store and they have sales from deli, sales from the deli and sales from customer service, and then the regular groceries, so if each department has its own little sales totals, or your accounting is kept separately, you can add each line here and the system will automatically total that. You hit save and it'll come over to your Schedule C. Okay, right there. And you'll know that it is a total because it is greened out like this. Okay. The other type of entry that I would like to show you is the one from like line number 9. Line number 9, if you notice, it has like a little pencil, like a little cross. So you can't really enter information in here. I can't go in here and change this. It's not going to allow me to. Because there's a form that you need to fill out. In this case, it's the 4562. And you fill this form out and it will automatically enter the information where it goes on your form, on your Schedule C. You are able to override by clicking on this little pencil. You override, enter information here. Let's say I put $5,000 here. and hit save. It will override and give you a little peach color heading here. That is how you know that this is an override. However, we strongly suggest that you do not override any of the numbers if it's not, if at all possible, because the software is designed to work where the information flows from one form to the next to give you a more accurate return. We come all the way down to the bottom and hit save. Okay, so you have your return. It's already completed. You've entered everything, and we hit verify. When you hit verify, you are making sure that all the information on your tax return is correct. It's going to pop up a list, and it will list for you things that you may have forgotten or forms that still need to be filled out. Once you have 0 or no errors found on your federal return, you can click exit there and come to the complete. It will ask you 3 questions. It will ask you, are you ready to mark this return as completed? I want to say yes. And it will ask you, are you ready to mark this return as reviewed? I'm going to say yes. And then it will ask you how you will file your return. File this return as a paper file or as electronically. I'm going to choose electronically. I'm going to then hit save and redirect to my management page. And this is my management page for this tax return. Here I can go in and edit the tax return. I can view the tax return and print the information. I can view the inputted information without actually going into the tax return. If I had the privilege, I can delete the return before completing it. If you can't delete a completed return. We can add a password to this return, schedule other appointments from this page. I can write letters to my client. I can write internal notes for this return, request signatures, and have my document management. So I can scan the information for this client, his W-2s and all that information that he brought, and have it attached to this return. The rest of this information is very important. If you notice, I have here the personal information where it has the name, social, his personal info, his contact information, again, an income summary, and then the other information, which is just telling me whether the tax return is complete, how I'm going to file, and if I'm going to look for a prior year return. In the middle section here, I can see the federal 1040, and then you're going to be able to see what the refund is or if he owes money and what the status is of this return. For the state, you're going to be able to see the same thing if he owes money and what the status is of that return. At the end of the federal line here, we'll be able to see that where is my return. And if you click on that, you'll be able to get an update of where this return is once after you file it, obviously, from the IRS website. And it'll connect it to the IRS website. You put in certain information, and it'll give you whether the return is, the check is coming, it's not coming, whether they accepted it, it'll show you there. Then we come down to the bottom. After you have already made the return complete, the next step before you can e-file is you need to make a payment or an invoice. Okay, so I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to edit return, but then not really. I would have hit add a new return, but there's already a new invoice, but there's already an invoice here. So I'm going to hit edit here. This is what we're charging this client for the return. We hit continue. From the payment screen, I can either adjust the invoice by either adding a discount, adding another charge, and I can adjust my return in this manner. I'm going to just leave it alone and hit continue. My invoice looks pretty much like this. And then at the bottom, I have a non-banking and banking. If I am choosing non-banking, that means that the taxpayer will be paying me directly. If I choose banking in the software, then the bank will pay me from the refund of the client. Okay, for these purposes, I'm just going to put non-banking, and I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to bring me to the final page of my payments, which is where I choose whether they paid me and how they paid me. For all intents and purposes, I have to say, you know, this is not a live software, so I'm just going to say no invoice only. And then you answer the question whether you want to e-file it right now or if you're going to do that later. I normally just leave it for later, but you can also just click it now and it'll bring you to that screen. I'm going to hit save and continue. And then I'm going to go back to my return to my return. Here you're going to see that now this lights up and you are ready to transmit. So I can click on transmit and you click on the little 1040 and you can either click here for the state or you can piggyback the state, which basically means it's going to add the state to that return. And you hit transmit now. We will not be hitting transmit now because this is not a live site. Okay. So keeping that in mind, after you have submitted the return and you have, you're waiting at least 10 to 15 minutes just to make sure that the IRS has everything down pat. When you click on your tax, you're going to come back to your return, you're going to be able to see here whether it was accepted or rejected. Accepted means it's the IRS got it, it's in their hands. We're going to wait for them for what they have to say. If you have a rejection, then we want to click into the edit so we can see what the rejection is about, make the corrections that need to be done, and submit it again. Okay. So this completes today's tutorial. Please be sure to check your email as we will be sending you some links and other videos showing you information about SwiftFP Works professional tax software. If you have any questions, please call us at 888-550-6119 to schedule an appointment with one of our account specialists for more details on pricing and additional tools and features that will assist you throughout the tax season. I am looking forward to hearing from you soon. Have a fabulous day.